All right, been a long time coming, but we're finally here. The Maz and Bad Show, episode numero uno. I'm your host, Brandon Mazz, joined by my wonderful co-host, Charlie Charlito Badwini. Badwini, how you doing today, buddy?
Mazz, doing great. Super excited to get a new chapter going. Ready to have a lot of fun. Ready to talk ball, and I can't wait to get started.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I want to say thank you to Montclair State for all the opportunities, but now finally able to just do our own thing, not have to answer to any higher structure when it comes to the things that we want to talk about. Here we are talking pro sports, baby, and unfortunately for you, something giant is going on right now that you don't even care about. I don't know why you don't care about it. It's the biggest thing in sports. I don't even care that the Celtics just won a championship. We'll get into that. But the Euros are back, baby, and we get a chance to see a GOAT up close and personal while it's still lasting. Of course, I'm talking about Cristiano Ronaldo. And Portugal plays today. I'm already repped out as I am half Portuguese. You can see the flag, which I promise you has been there for quite some time, not just because they're playing in the Euros. Broke out the Pepe jersey because if you don't have defenders, I don't know what to tell you. You're not a true fan without a defender's jersey. But Charlie, you don't even care about the Euros, and I don't understand.
It's not that I don't care. It's just I've never been a big soccer guy. So when the World Cup's on every 4 years, I'll tune in and watch when. Something crazy's happening, but what's at stake here for these Euros? You know what I mean?
Legacy is at stake here. This is basically like the warm-up before the World Cup. You got everybody in Europe going after it, and then on the other side, Copa America is going to be starting a little bit down the road, and it's basically like warm-up internationals. Like, you could play for your club team, but this is essentially bigger than playing for Team USA basketball at the Olympics. This is putting your team, your national team, your pride up to the highest mantle and defending it. And it's a little taste of what you could possibly see 2 more years down the line come 2026 when the United States is hosting the World Cup. So hopefully the GOAT's still rocking because I need to see him at one more run and hopefully he can get the job done.
Well, it appears you shouldn't have too much to worry about. Portugal is fairly heavily favored over these Czechians, if I'm saying that correctly.
I don't know what the people of the Czech Republic are referred to. I think Chechen sounds right, or Czechians. However, I know we have the American accent. I'm not going to sit here and butcher it anymore. But they're going down today. I'm sure they're really good people. I want no part of disrespecting them. But you just got to know who the better team is. And if Portugal does not get the job done, you will not see me for a week, as I will be in my room crying.
Yeah, that would be quite the upset. I would assume.
Badwini, we got to get you into Italy national team, U.S. national team. I'd get you into Ireland's national team, but they're not really it. So, buddy, we got to get you into soccer. It's gonna happen. But you're already into basketball.
Oh, big time.
And the Celtics have just become the greatest franchise of all time, and I'm not happy about it.
Me either. And I'm not even a Lakers fan, and this disgusts me to no end.
I mean, you are a Knicks fan, though, and I'm going to be honest. I think you might even hate Boston more than I do, which, once Kobe got it back, I don't even hate him like I used to. I wasn't around for Magic and Bird, so, it doesn't run deep like that for me, I mean, I feel like I hate the Clippers more, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's just because, you see Clippers fans online, and they're just oh, it's an LA city because they've won X amount of games. Bro, when you get a championship, you can come talk to me. When you get 17 championships, then you can talk to me. When you overtake those 17 championships, then you can call it your city. Until then, sit down, shut up, Junior. You're just a little baby brother.
I just personally can't stand Boston as a sports city. Not even just the Boston Celtics, not even just the New England Patriots, the Boston Red Sox, the Bruins, whatever you want to say. It's just a trashy sports town. They're just let's just take this series by itself. Ready? Game 4 at the watch party at TD Garden. You have Celtics fans throwing haymakers at each other, getting into brawls, fighting over one loss on their way to a 4-1 series victory. You got guys in the streets bullying Mavericks fans, trying to rip Luka jerseys off other guys. Kyrie Irving last night takes a tumble into the stands, crashes into Mike Breen early in the third, I believe it was. And you had Boston fans yelling expletives while he's on the ground after he crashed into the stands. Mike Breen called it a disgrace last night. I think that was very appropriate. Boston doesn't deserve the championships that they've won in the 21st century. I can't stand to see them happy, and it actually makes my blood curl. I'm not gonna lie to you, seeing that championship last night.
I'm gonna be honest with you. This team deserves it, though. Like, as a Lakers fan, this is how you know that I'm being completely unbiased. Like, the team that they've assembled, I mean, you got to give kudos where it's due. I mean, they put together a masterclass. They take the heart and soul of the last run and Marcus Smart, ship him out of town, bring in a better defender in Drew Holiday, a more experienced playoff guy, a guy who's already won a championship. And then they bring in Kristaps Porzingis. They've been looking for a center. They've been looking for a guy who can completely be something that teams don't get to see too often and throw different looks at. Even though he's had the injuries up and down, he was still very effective when he was on the court, I would say. Last night, not so much, but just him being on the court, I feel like was an energy booster. And then you have legit veterans. I mean, Al Horford getting his moment. It was beautiful to see. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown prove that they can finally work as a duo, and Derek White's just a dog, and that's probably the best move I think that they might have traded for this entire time. Acquiring him made this entire thing work. I mean, hounding defense, three-point shooting. Guy goes 39% from the floor, but 40% from three. I mean, what more can you ask for? This team had depth. You got Peyton Pritchard hitting back-to-back, end of quarter, end of half buzzer beaters, Hauser coming up. Where'd he even come from? I mean, I have no clue, but dude, it's a legit squad. I don't know. I don't think they're running it back, but they finally got the job done, and you got to give kudos where it's due.
So I thought that was something that was interesting. What you just said, that they're not running it back. I mean, we'll get to that in just a second. But first, I did want to just talk about real quick Boston's path to the finals. Right? It was something that was talked about a pretty decent amount leading up to the series, obviously, because they didn't play a whole lot of great teams to get to the finals. So you had Miami in the first round, which was a 4-1 sweep, gentleman's sweep. No Jimmy Butler the entire series, right? Second round, Cleveland Cavaliers, 4-1 gentleman's sweep. No Donovan Mitchell for those last two games. And then a full-on sweep of the Pacers in the conference finals. Was there ever really a moment where they faced any sort of controversy or any sort of like snags in the road, something that like they really, it was quite the undramatic, easy path to the finals, right?
I mean, I feel like we cannot fault that because here's the thing, right? The favorite of the season has not won, like of the regular season. The number one seed has not won in quite some time in terms of like the best overall record, which is normally in the East. I would say it's the easier of the two conferences, but I just feel like you cannot fault them for being a one seed. They put in that work. They really didn't take games off for the most part. Like they fought to get that number one seed. Of course, the advantages comes with that. And then yes, Miami doesn't have Jimmy, and then Cleveland loses Spider, and then Indiana should have never been there in the first place. The Knicks injuries is the reason why Indiana's there. You can't fault them for that. Nobody's sitting there saying this is the greatest championship won of all time. Like, I'm sure the city of Boston loves it. Of course, they're going to be celebrating it, but they're not going to sit there and tell you, out of all of their 18 now rings, this is the best one ever. It's the recency bias, so, like, yeah, they're going to love it. They're going to cherish it, but, like, if you could say, like, oh, it was this one or, one of Bird's or one of Russell's, what have you, I'm sure they would give this one up.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just like I said, they faced little to no adversity. Like there was no like moment where they were like on the brink of elimination in a series. A team had them on the ropes. Like even for example, let's take the Nuggets last year. I mean, they at least went 6 games with the Phoenix Suns in the second round. I mean, everything else was just about a gentleman's sweep or a sweep, but there was just really no moment where Celtics fans were concerned or worried that this wasn't going to be the championship year. It was almost like a given as soon as the playoffs started. Go ahead.
You know what? Your team and my team could get that easy walk too if they would just be the first seed. Like everybody wants to cruise, load management, all this hoopla and nonsense where it's like, I know it's a grueling season, right? I'm not a professional basketball player. I've never gone through it, but 82 games, is a lot, So like I understand, but if you would just put in that little bit of effort, right? And now you see the Knicks try to do this and it doesn't always work out, right? Like I understand where you want to pick your moments, right? I think if you're up 20 points in the game going into the fourth quarter, yeah, you can cruise a little bit, but making sure that you secure the win is different. I think situational coaching plays a giant factor into this, but if you want to cruise to the final, get the first seed. You're going to be playing the less likely of the two every time. It's either you can play the winner of the 8th seed and the 4th seed, what have you, or you can play the 3rd or 2nd seed at some point. It's up to you at where you want to be seated.
Absolutely.
Me personally, I'd rather see the better team down the line.
For sure. And I totally agree with you there. And I think even if you just look at this past playoffs, there's already 2 examples I can give you where teams messed up with their seedings. So you have Denver, which was the reigning champion. That they were, I mean, not obviously now not the reigning champion anymore, but they were the most previous winning champion this past playoffs. They lost a game in San Antonio to end the season, and it cost them the first seed, and it even potentially cost them a trip to the finals. Like if they're the 1 seed, they're not playing Minnesota in the semifinals. They're playing them in the conference finals. They're probably playing Dallas in the semifinals, and that's a whole different series for Denver than it is what it was against Minnesota. Let's go to the Eastern Conference. Cleveland tanked their last game against the Charlotte Hornets. After halftime, they benched most of their starters. They had no interest in winning that game because they did not want to see the Bucks in the first round. And what ended up happening anyway? They got an okay draw in the Orlando Magic, which still took them 7 games. And they ended up playing Boston in the second round anyway. If they had won that game against Charlotte, they could have jumped up to the 2 seed and had the Knicks path. Yeah, you're playing a Joel Embiid and Philly team in the first round, but I mean, it was a good series, but they were not at full strength. It was not, you know what I mean? Like the Sixers were not to the best of their ability. The Embiid injury, the other injuries to some of their role players across the floor. It is so important to make sure that you can get the highest seed possible because it does give you breaks in your playoff schedule. It really does. It's a massive help.
And let's not act like home court advantage doesn't matter. Like, I hate when people are like, oh, who cares? It's not like, dude, you try making a free throw in a hostile environment. All right, you try playing a basketball game while you're not sleeping in your bed multiple times during the series, right? You got to hop on that plane. Like, I get jet lag just going to visit family, for crying out loud. I can't imagine having to go play against the best in the world in a competition aspect. It just makes no sense. I mean, getting the highest seed should always be the name of the game. If you want, do you think you got the better matchup? Like, sure, but it doesn't always work out like that. I just think getting the home court advantage when you can should always be priority number 1. I don't want to see teams tank, right? I hate when you hear the talks of the tank for Wemby year, the tank for Zion year. Like, dude, go out there and compete. All right, you're there to win basketball games. I don't know, man. And you know what? We saw a guy who people say maybe is overpaid. They should not have given a contract that big to him. He's not worth it. Just become the Finals MVP, and I think it was well deserved.
What a great transition to our next topic. So Jaylen Brown did end up winning Finals MVP for Boston. As you said, Mazz, you believe it's well deserved. But let me just give off some of the averages here between Tatum and Brown. So Jaylen Brown, as the Finals MVP, averaged 20.8 points per game, 5 assists, and 5.4 rebounds, shooting 44% from the field. Jason Tatum, more points per game, assists per game, and rebounds per game. He had 22, 7 assists, 8 rebounds on 38% shooting. I think what this came down to is, I mean, Tatum, he pulled a LeBron. He led his team in the 3 major categories in points, rebounds, assists, but he shot terribly throughout the entire finals. His efficiency was horrible, and he also took the most shots of any Celtic. And I think that's kind of what edged Brown over Tatum was the efficiency numbers.
I think you're 100% right, and I'll take it a step further. I think he played better defense, personally. And he didn't play the best defense that we saw in the series from Boston. Of course, Drew Holiday and Derek White can claim that, but I just think that Jaylen Brown came up bigger when the games were more competitive. Game 1, Game 2, Game 3 even. 4 you started seeing, 3 you started seeing, Tatum start coming alive, then they both fall off in game 4. And then you come back to game 5 and Tatum's almost trying to make up for what he was lacking in points those other games. But Jaylen Brown, Mr. Consistency. I mean, 44%. Granted, is it 50% from the field? No, but he's a shooting guard, so like it's fine. And I just thought that he played a heck of a series. Now, here's my question to you, right? Go down and look at those averages and read me Luka's averages real quick.
So Luka averaged 29 points per game, 5.6 assists, 8.8 rebounds on 47% from the field.
I think there's an argument to be made that the Jerry West could have repeated itself. I know that they went down 4-1, but hey, I mean, he was the best player on the court. So is it supposed to go to the best player in the game or just the best player on the winning team? That's for people to decide. I think Jaylen Brown, though, was very much deserving of it. I think if you had to give it to a Boston Celtic, he's the clear number 1 for me. He was a superstar for the first time in his career, I feel like. Like, borderline, it's always, Jaylen Brown's a star, but he's not going to work with Jason Tatum. Boston should get rid of him, this and that. This guy rose to the occasion. I felt like he constantly rose to the occasion this season. He's definitely worth the money that they paid him. I'm going to be honest. I wish the Lakers could find a way to acquire his talents.
I mean, you're absolutely not wrong, and that could be something that's in the cards down the road as the new CBA kicks in this year. There's different limits you can do in terms of how much money you can have. You can no longer go so far over the luxury tax without actual hindrances to your team, where you can't trade for certain players or you can't use mid-level exceptions when you're trying to sign somebody. But I want to come back to the Finals MVP with a bit more of a dark horse. I wanted to see the first executive Finals MVP. I thought Brad Stevens should have been Finals MVP for the Boston Celtics because, man, I think he constructed what we saw this year with Boston, the best team we've seen in the NBA since the KD Warriors.
But here's my question, right? Do you think that this is the first executive that ever should have gotten it then? I mean, how about the year when Boston acquired Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen to join Paul Pierce and Rajon Rondo, for crying out loud? How about the year that Miami assembles LeBron James and Chris Bosh down with D Wade and then they win it the next season, right? There's so many other instances of teams being built to get over that hump where it's like, yeah, Brad Stevens put together a masterclass in how to acquire talent and just go pushing the chips all the way in. But it's not like we've never seen this before. I mean, if you're gonna do it, I just feel like there was bigger teams that Boston. How many times have we seen Boston constantly as a top seed in the East and just not get the job done? So yeah, it's easy to just go and make those. I don't want to say that it's easy, right? But you know exactly what you're missing. How about those guys that have taken mid-level playoff contenders and have added and built a championship squad out of that? What about the year that Detroit won in 2004? Putting together that kind of a team and foregoing drafting Carmelo Anthony of all people, and they still get the job done. I just think there's other executives, other GMs that have built rosters that haven't gotten the credit, and now we want to be like, oh, Brad, good job, buddy. You finally got the team that is underachieved for years over the hump, and now here's your flowers.
Well,
now listen, he deserves the flowers, but Finals MVP, stop it! Stop this nonsense.
I'm being a little facetious. I didn't, I'm not like saying like actually go give him that trophy, but Brad Stevens, as the architect of this team, and like you said, Mazz, I mean, you can't say that Pat Riley didn't deserve it, or for the Heatles, or Danny Ainge for the super team Celtics, but the point more being is that you said, just like you said, is this a Jerry West situation where Boston didn't really have a bona fide best player to really be that Finals MVP? You can make that case for Luka. I mean, you probably lose that argument, but regardless, what I mean by that is just how Brad Stevens was able to acquire these guys. He traded Marcus Smart, Mike Muscala, and Danilo Gallinari for Kristaps Porzingis. That's a steal.
I mean,
Robert Williams and Malcolm Brogdon for Drew Holiday.
That's the steal for me, right? Because let's be honest, Kristaps Porzingis is the biggest question mark in terms of unicorn talent I think ever. gets drafted by the Knicks. You hear fans jumping on the bandwagon of who is this guy? I never heard of Latavia. You know,
Tinky
Tingus
Pingy.
Pingus. You know, like come on. And then they ship him off, and everybody's all upset that he gets shipped off. He's down in Dallas with Luka. They can't get the job done. They're not going anywhere. They try basically sending him to purgatory, known as Washington D.C. And he was putting up numbers, but I was like, oh, it's empty stats. They're not winning games, so who cares? So to give up a player like Marcus Smart, you know, a defensive player of the year that got you to the NBA Finals where you eventually lost, but you lost to a top 10 player all time in Steph Curry and co, who's in the tail end of their dynasty run, right? And they took a chance on Kristaps Porzingis. I think that was an actually ballsy move to even make that trade in the first place, and it ended up paying off, even though Porzingis continues to have injury problems like he's had his entire career. Now, the steal for Drew Holiday, I mean, what did they go to Milwaukee? Did they just go in there and just be like, listen, we have the most craziest information on your family right now and make this trade? I don't know where it came from. It honestly felt like they had the access to their bank account, which is like, listen, we're transferring all the funds to an offshore account if you don't make this deal. I have no clue how they acquired Drew Holiday for what I felt was highway robbery. But
Well, so
congratulations to them.
I'll give you a name. You can blame the Milwaukee Bucks for that because what happened was they didn't trade Drew Holiday directly to the Celtics. The Bucks, when they traded for Damian Lillard, obviously Drew Holiday was a major part of that trade package. He went to the Trailblazers, and I literally want to say not even 3 or 4 days later, Boston swooped in and took Holiday right from the Blazers and brought him to Boston. And that was basically, you might as well, you could have chalked the NBA championship up there potentially. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, completely forgot about Drew Holiday going to Portland. Was that a part of the official trade deal, or was that a separate deal?
It was a separate deal. It happened after the fact, yeah.
I thought there was limitations on when you could trade players like that again. 2K's got me messed up right now. I apologize. You know. So listen, acquiring Drew Holiday from Portland for peanuts is a steal. You know, I still don't think they got enough. I know they got Robert Williams. I know they got some decent compensation, but like
Sixth man of the year, Malcolm Brogdon.
Dude, it's not enough for me.
It's not.
You know,
It's
Malcolm Brogdon is getting sixth man of the year, playing on the easiest team in basketball. Where it's just like, oh, hey, I'll just come in and just contribute a little bit. Everybody's not even worried about me, you know. So it's like, yo, it is what it is. But yeah, I think Drew Holiday definitely cemented them back on defense. Give them a veteran. I think the problem was that Marcus Smart wanted to be the number one guy, right? And I can't blame him for that. But Marcus, you're not number one talent, with all due respect. And who am I to talk? I get it. Like, if we played one-on-one, he'd drop 100 on me before I could even tie my shoes to get going in the game, right? I would stand no chance. But there's levels to this. Drew Holiday, I think, is on the same level as a Marcus Smart right now in his career. Of course, when he was with the Pelicans, was definitely capable of scoring more and potentially being a number two option on a team. But now they're just both defensive guys, and you didn't see Drew Holiday do too much, I felt like. Like, he dropped points when they needed him. He more than gladly stepped back when they didn't need the scoring and locked in on defense. It was just the more mature mindset that they needed.
He led the Celtics in offensive rebounds per game with 2.6, which was massive. I felt like every missed three from the Celtics felt like it somehow ended up in the hands of Drew.
I mean, that is absolutely veteranship effort, and that's what wins you a championship. Guys that are willing to put the ego aside, that are, I could go out and drop 25 points in this game, but we actually need some offensive rebounding. We actually need someone to get physical. We need somebody to stick Kyrie. Like, I'll go take that assignment, no problem.
All right, so one last note on the Finals MVP before we move on. What does this do for you for Jason Tatum's legacy? And I can't believe I'm saying that already. He's a 26-year-old player. He still has so much more time to go before the book is closed on his basketball story. But does him not getting this Finals MVP impact anything for you, specifically of how you feel about him?
I think he's the most hated on player that I've seen since LeBron James. Honestly, I feel like he doesn't get the respect that he deserves. I mean, I feel like Are people going to talk more negatively about him because he didn't get the Finals MVP? Yes, but they're also going to be talking more highly about Jaylen Brown, I think. Does that cause a rift? I think that's for him to decide on where he wants to take it. I think the mature side would be, hey, we got something brewing here. We proved that we could actually win. Granted, the stars had to align and we had an easy path to it, but they also worked to get that easy path. It does nothing for me in terms of he's still a regular season monster, right? Does he still need to come up a little better in the playoffs? Absolutely. But he's 26. Why are we acting like he's folded time and time again? He's been to 2 finals. They came out champions 1 time. Was Steph Curry the finals MVP of every one of the Golden State Warriors runs? No. Andre Iguodala got one. Kevin Durant got one. And then he finally gets some. So it's... I don't... the chip is what matters, right? We can sit here and argue individual accomplishments, but let's be honest. Nobody gives a damn about the individual accomplishments. If we did, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would be the greatest basketball player of all time, and nobody says that unless you're from the 70s, with all due respect. I'm a Mike guy. You're a LeBron guy. I'm also a Kobe guy, let's not forget. So it's like, we don't give a damn about the individual accomplishments unless it's the guy that we're already rooting for.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I don't disagree with you on most parts of that. I mean, I think down the road when we're talking about Tatum, I mean, where he ends up in terms of all-time conversations, if you're comparing him to a guy like a Kevin Durant or like an Allen Iverson or a guy who's like top 20 potentially maybe somewhere down the road, I think this is something that will come up that where you can say, how can you say a guy who, one of his championships he wasn't the best player on the team, but that's obviously a conversation for not just today, but it could potentially be years down the road. So,
well, let me flip this on you right now. What do you think is more important? Being a 4-time scoring champion and making it to 1 finals that you lost, even though you were clearly the number 1 guy and you stole a game from arguably the greatest duo of Shaq and Kobe in all time and Allen Iverson? Or would you rather be the guy who is consistently among the top of the league, not the scoring champion, but consistently up there, and was the number 1 face of the team.
Number 1 option on the championship team.
I don't want to call him the number 1 option because I think Jaylen Brown definitely took that mantle. I think the problem with Jason Tatum, side note here, sorry to take us down, I think Jason Tatum's maturity comes with the shot selection. He relies so confidently in the jump shot. That's where you see the efficiency going down. Look at this last game. When he decided to start driving on Dallas, I mean, nobody could guard him. I mean, he was putting on some moves where I was like, holy hell, who is this? Like, I knew Jason Tatum was good. I didn't know Jason Tatum could get to the rim anytime he damn well please. So I think it just comes down to his confidence is great, but I think the shot selection is going to be the maturity. But what would you rather be, Allen Iverson or a champion? No disrespect to AI. We love him. But the fact of the matter remains, he never got it done. I bet you AI would wish that he was, in the Jason Tatum spot of getting the job done, because now we actually had an organization that gave him what he needed to win a championship.
Yeah, and that pretty much leads pretty well into our next conversation here is what's next for Boston, Are they the NBA's new dynasty? Are they on a pace here to continue winning championships and keep it going? Or was this a lucky run? Was this a year they were able to get a weak Eastern Conference with injuries? No Giannis and Dame, no Embiid. The Knicks fell apart, and then Western Conference. You could argue Dallas wasn't even a. You could argue they weren't the best team in the Western Conference. You could say Denver was the better team. It was a bad matchup for the Timberwolves. You know what I mean? So what's next for Boston in your mind, Mazz?
First off, I'm not taking anything away from Dallas. We sat there sleeping on this team the entire year. Unless you were a Lucas stan or a Dallas Mavericks fan, you did not. And I don't even think Dallas Mavericks fans thought that this team with a starting lineup of what? You got Daniel Gafford out there and Lively. I don't think they looked at this and went, this is the year that they finally make it. It's when that team started cooking where it's like, all right, let's see how far they can take it. Yeah, they took down Minnesota. Was it a matchup nightmare? Sure, but you can't fault them for that. That they played to their strengths, and congratulations to them. And Mark Cuban's probably my favorite governor in the NBA, if I'm being completely honest, right? But I think, and yeah, was Denver better? Sure, but they got outplayed. All right, so you play to the strengths, and it is what it is. Coming back to Boston, they aren't running this back. I'm sorry, it's just not happening for me. The stars aligned. I'm not faulting them. It was an easy trip to it, but let's be honest. If Jimmy Butler was on that court, I don't know what happens, even with the depth and the talent, because he's that dog. He's defied the odds basically single-handedly when they had a plethora of talent. Now, it's just the best talent that they have, and you can make the case for Boston, sure, but who knows? Maybe he takes a little bit out of them when they go play that next series. Jimmy not being out there was the biggest one for me.
I'm with you.
Dame and Giannis not really competing in the playoffs due to injury, and Indiana upsetting them. Granted, it is their first year of being together. I'm sure they're going to be fine moving forward. I'd love to see them run it back. I think they're going to be bringing a whole new dynamic to it. When Joel Embiid gets healthy, that's going to be even more hectic because no disrespect to Al Horford or Kristaps Porzingis, but they weren't stopping JoJo if they ended up playing. I would love to see how that affected. Now, granted, like I said, they still have the depth to be able to afford this because a team that has a ton of talent just has to manage injuries themselves. The Knicks can run it back next year. What is that going to look like? Can Boston even pay all these guys? You still got to pay Jason Tatum. When's that coming? So you just paid Jaylen Brown. Are people going to be willing to take pay cuts? That's another thing. Even with Kristaps, Kristaps got to go get surgery right now, for crying out loud. And not to mention Joe Mazzulla apparently has been coaching without an MCL for the last couple of months. So this entire team, it's a little banged up. I don't think Al Horford's gonna, is he gonna have it to run it back? I mean, he just accomplished the one thing that he's been chasing for umpteen years of his career. And congratulations to him. That's the one thing that I'm celebrating is that Al Horford finally got a chip because he deserves the damn thing. But I just don't know how the money's going to work. I mean, unless the new deal is going to bump them up that much and guys are going to restructure contracts, let's be honest, money talks and BS walks, my friend.
Well said, Mazz. But I honestly, as much as I hate to admit it, I disagree with you. This Boston team, I mean, I'm looking at their book situation for the next 2 years, and next year is an easy run it back year. It's the last year of the contract for Derek White and Al Horford, but other than that, you don't have to worry about Tatum and Porzingis till 2025. The rest of the team is relatively young. I mean, Drew Holiday is probably the oldest player in the core besides Al Horford at 33 years old. Everybody else is sub 30. And now they have a taste of the championship of what it takes. What's to stop them from doing it again? I mean, I agree with you. The Bucks, if they had been full health, I think they would have posed a bit more of a bigger threat. And I think they're going to retool and they'll be back next year, a little bit more of a better roster around both Dame and Giannis. I think that'll be better for them. Philly, I don't really have any faith in them because they've never really been playoff risers. That includes Joel Embiid. And then if the Knicks can get better, who's to say they can't give Boston a run for their money as well? But I just still think, at least for sure for next year, they should still be the absolute favorite to win it all going into next year. And you really can't deny that because of the team and the core that they're bringing back. They're not going to lose anybody that major.
Running it back is hard, though. You see championship hangovers happen all the time, right? Those guys know what it takes to buy in, but as we said, they did not face the pinnacle that the NBA had to offer. Teams are going to retool. I think Dallas is going to get better. There's talks of Dallas going out to acquire LeBron James, for crying out loud. I think Denver is going to go out and get better. I think Miami is going to go out and get better. I think Milwaukee's going to go out and get better, and I think the Knicks are going to find a way to run it back. Maybe they got to move on from some pieces. I have no clue what they're going to be choosing to do. What I'm saying is running it back is really hard, and you're asking me if they're going to be a dynasty, right? For me, a dynasty, you got to get 3 rings, right? In whatever span of it is. 10 years, 3 and 10. I don't think Boston's going to be able to do that with this core group of guys. Maybe if they retool it, we could talk about that down the line, but I don't think we're going to see them going back-to-back. They ain't on the cover of Lethal Weapon. They ain't Jordan 96, 97. It ain't happening, my brother. It's just I don't see it.
All right, well, that remains to be seen. I guess we have plenty of time to mull on that as the summer will go by before NBA season tips back off again. But let's take it back over to Dallas. So, as you said, Mazz, it was really an impressive run to the finals for them. I mean, the current core that they had that took them to the NBA Finals, they didn't really acquire until the trade deadline. They didn't get Daniel Gafford and some names that are slipping me, P.J. Washington, and some guys off the bench until the deadline, and it really changed the entire outlook of the whole season for them. And an improbable run to the finals while they fell short and obviously didn't give as much of a fight as some people expected, myself included, it was still a very impressive season for them and a run to the finals. But are they going to be in that run it back category? Do they have to retool, or at worst case scenario, do you blow it up?
I don't think you blow it up yet, right? I think you saw when they're on, it is hard to stop Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. I think Luka needs to beef up his defense for sure, because that's really the weakness where it comes. We saw him get into foul trouble, literally foul out in a finals game. Like, you can't be having that happen, you know? And it's when it comes to defense, I really feel like it's just like an effort thing. Like, there's guys that are good at defense, but most of the time, like, you can get good at defense if you want to focus in on that. Personally, I believe, but they absolutely need more help. They need another star, I think. Somebody that is capable of, when Luka's getting zoned in on or Kyrie's getting zoned in on, they can go and get their shot. I think that was the problem. Who else was really hitting shots outside of those two? We saw Kyrie Irving get closed in on by Boston, and Luka, go get those stats. You're not winning on us, you know? So I think they absolutely need to go get another star. I think they need to repackage. I'm not even worried about the depth, because Jason Kidd proved that he can go get guys, role players that are going to do what is necessary, the nitty-gritty. They don't need nitty-gritty right now. They need talent that can hit shots and bring more firepower, because you came with two guns to a war with Boston that had the entire artillery on you. You know, they got to beef up in the offensive category for me.
I'm totally with you, and I think the Luka point is a really good point, and I'd like to repeat something I heard last night at the end of the broadcast as Kyrie and Luka were checking out. You know, when it was really starting to turn into a blowout, Doris Burke made a really good point about Luka Doncic, and it was what he looks like right now is what the Joker used to look like before he started taking his conditioning and his nutrition and his diet and all that stuff seriously. And it's true. I mean, he was out there gasping for air in the NBA Finals. It was the longest playoff run of his career, and his body wasn't ready for it. And that's really what it comes down to. And yes, they didn't have as much firepower as Boston did, but even if they were even on a closer playing scale a little bit, I still just think Luka wouldn't have been able to put him over the edge with the way he's currently constructed. And I think there's time for him to improve on that, though. You know what I mean?
And, you know, we can sit there and say not conditioned, this and that. I mean, listen, the man still put up 29.2 points, for crying out loud. Had an efficient 47.2% from the field. Sniping from downtown. I mean, he was all over the place. Hitting rebounds, hitting assists, doing his thing. I think it's just the defense that it comes down to. So even an unconditioned Luka is going to go up and put up stats on you, right? I think now getting that taste where it's like, damn, I can't rely on just my pure talent now. I have to go put in that work. I think you are going to see the dog form into a pit bull, because he's reached the pinnacle. And if I just put in a little more effort. But hey, he's not the problem why they lost, personally.
I mean,
right? They had bigger problems before that.
You're absolutely right.
And shout out Doris Burke. Shout out Doris Burke. I mean, I love that lady. She's a gem that needs to be protected. That is what broadcasters, male, female, what have you, should be striving to be. I love her analysis. I just got to give her flowers, because I feel like she doesn't get it as much as she deserves. She's phenomenal, and I think she's right. I think this is I don't want to say the calm before the storm, but I do think that Luka is going to crank it up to the next level, because now it's okay. Maybe if I would have just done a couple of things different, I at least put us in that better shot. But they still need to get better as a team, I believe.
I wholeheartedly agree with you on Doris Burke, of course, on the Mavericks having more problems than just Luka Doncic as a whole in this series. But just to push back on you a little bit, all of his numbers were down from the rest of his playoff run and the regular season. Down in points. He was actually up in steals. That's the only thing he's up in. Down in assists, down in rebounds, 58% from the free throw line. Unacceptable. 24.4% from three. Unacceptable. That's really what it comes down to for me.
Here's my thing with it, right? You're playing the best team in the NBA, and we've already talked about a cakewalk to the finals, right? What did you expect to happen? Of course those numbers were going to be down. Him down is better than superstar series we've seen all season long, for crying out loud. Yes, was he atrocious from three? Sure. And listen, I'm going to be honest. I saw Kristaps guard him out on the wing. I was like, oh my God, Talk about knowing a man's tendencies, knowing what move he's gonna hit, and still being in the right position. Granted, it helps to be 7'3", but we've seen Luka dance on tall guys before, and Kristaps was just in the right place. So having that scatter report knowledge with you of, hey, listen, I've played with him a couple of seasons. I think I know the tendencies, and it works out. But if anybody is going to bash Luka, listen, we're just trying to take down the biggest star, right? Everybody else had to be better. I'm sorry, Kyrie Irving kind of shied away multiple times in this series. Like he was kept on shooting. Great for him. I'm not saying that he didn't go down swinging, but I think he needed to be better on the offensive efficiency for me. You know, I saw multiple times that he just ends up kind of getting clamped. And that's exactly what we said was going to happen to him. I mean, granted, he still puts up 19.8 points, but shooting 41% from the field, he was able to get that up, but there's games where it's like, oh my God, they've clamped Kyrie Irving. I never thought I would hear any team be able to do that. When you have Derek White and Jrue Holiday in the mix and Jaylen Brown, that's what it takes. And I think that's a testament to his talent. But once again, it cannot just be a two-man job. They ain't Shaq. They're not Kobe. All right? They're not Jordan. They're not Pippen. Even so, there was other guys on those dynasties that contributed and were able to hit shots in big moments. Who else is hitting a shot in a big moment for Dallas this series? I can't name one.
No, nobody. So,
So
that's what we got for Dallas. There's some light at the end of the tunnel there because there is a lot of things they can do this offseason to be even better. And in fact, I'll give you three things right now that are realistic options: worst case, best case, middle case. Ready? Worst case scenario, you acquire another wing in, let's say, a Kyle Kuzma, right? Just probably an upgrade over a Derek Jones Jr. or a PJ Washington, but nothing really that really moves the needle, Mazz. What's so funny about that?
Oh, God, I'm sorry, man. I'm on my high blood pressure medication. I think you just took me over the top, brother. Good God. You think that should even be an option?
It's worst case scenario. I said worst case scenario.
Blow it up before you do that, kid. Blow it up. Ship Kyrie off. Go get someone else. That is legitimately, you just said I'm giving up on running it back for me. Stop it.
Okay. All right. Moving on from worst case scenario. Probably like the most middle ground acquisition they could make that would definitely improve the floor of the team. Paul George.
Now we're talking. That's money, baby. That's a move the Knicks should go make. All right? I'm sorry. I love Julius Randle. But he is injured a lot. The city flip-flops on him way too many times. You don't believe me that I've been thinking this for a while now. You can go back and check out the old Ant and Mazz tapes from WMSC Montclair Radio. You can go check out the TikTok I put out last month for Hot Take Empire. By the way, shout out Hot Take Empire as we are in a partnership with them. Listen, Paul George can be a game changer. He cannot be a number one guy, I firmly believe. This is a guy in the clutch, does not show up when all the pressure's on him. But if you go to Dallas, where's the pressure? Luka's got the pressure. Kyrie's got the pressure. Now you got defense. Now you got three-point shooting. Now you got a guy who, as your third option, can come up big. Take it on. He would cook the third defensive matchup because that's what will legitimately have to be on him.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
Kyrie's that good, and Luka is, you talk to some people, the second coming for crying out loud, right? That is a move where if that's mid-tier, Dallas is looking up. That is a move worth making, and I don't care what it takes to acquire it. I don't care about age. You're going in for the next championship. Dallas has been known to buy in for these 1 years. I don't know if they're capable of building a dynasty without guys wanting to really be there, right? It's not a free agent market like that. They acquire guys, and then guys fall in love with the place. We've seen them do it before with Dirk and the gang. You could run it back with Paul George, I believe.
And of course, Kyrie as well. Obviously, they traded for him last year with knowing the risk that he could have walked in free agency and they would have, gained absolutely nothing. But Kyrie loved the team, he loved the area, obviously, and he re-signed. So for Dallas, I think if they want to win a championship next year, if you're all in, you go get LeBron James, baby. You have to.
What are you giving me? What are you giving me in that trade? That's just what I want to know.
I'm not giving you anything. LeBron James is an unrestricted free agent. He could opt out of his opt out of his contract. He has a player option for this summer that he has to either accept or decline before the draft, and he could either be an unrestricted free agent or he could be back on the Lakers next year.
You ever seen Impractical Jokers?
Of course.
I will never forgive him if he does that. All right? We've depleted asset after asset. The only reason why we won the bubble is because we got a 3-month break from playing basketball, and Anthony Glass Davis was able to get healthy. LeBron's able to get his mind right. Guys finally buy in, and it's just like, oh, wow, we need a pandemic to get the damn championship. LeBron James supposed to be the greatest player of all time. He's got one chip. They're talking about building him in a goddamn statue outside of Crypto Arena, which is the worst name for a stadium I've ever, or arena, sorry, I've ever heard in my damn life, but that's a tangent for another day. All right? LeBron, I swear to God, if you do this to me, I will go back to hating you. Like when you were on Cleveland the first time and it was LeBron James versus Kobe Bryant, who's the best player in the league. And it was definitely Kobe Bryant at that time. I don't even want to hear anybody. LeBron didn't become the best player in the NBA until 2012 for me, baby. All right? Kobe Bryant reigned supreme. But that's, again, a tangent for another day. How many times have the Lakers made the move that LeBron wanted and it hasn't worked out? If you just leave us high and dry, we could have got Anthony Davis in the mother effing offseason, for crying out loud. He was willing to sign with us. His daddy said he ain't going to Boston. All right, he wasn't going hometown to Chicago because they had nothing cooking. All right, of course he was coming to the Lakers. He was going to be the next big man. He was going to be the next Jabbar, the next Shaq. And it turns out he ain't it. All right. But we could have got it without giving up Lonzo Ball, who I wanted more than all of them. We didn't have to give up Brandon Ingram. I'm not completely mad that he's gone, though, because he can't live up to the pressure of playing in L.A., it looked like. All right? And then Kyle Kuzma, who was putting up Michael Carter-Williams stats, even got shipped out. You know? We've depleted everything to appease LeBron. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have done it. But for you to leave high and dry on us like that, oh, buddy, I got a LeBron jersey in the closet. I'm running it over with the car. All right, I'm hanging it from the side of the house, and it's going ablaze. That's it. No, I wouldn't really do that. I wouldn't be that upset.
Okay.
I'm completely joking. I would be upset though. I not enough. I'm not. Listen, I paid good money for that jersey. All right,
No,
and I
fair
appreciate him bringing the one. I appreciate him bringing the one. I don't care if it was the bubble. That was the hardest championship ever to win. But I would be thoroughly upset with the King if he left us. I believe this is the third greatest player of all time. All right, he brought the Lakers back to relevancy for the first time since Kobe Bean Bryant. All right, and I thank him for that. But for the love of God, build me a team before you leave me high and dry. All right, build me something. You can't just leave me with just Anthony Davis and only Anthony Davis. All right, you got Austin Reeves starting. Don't tell me you had nothing to do with that. All right, you cannot leave the Lakers when you had Austin Reeves taking the last shot in the fourth quarter of the mother playoffs. All right, you can't do that to me. You just can't. Bron, you got more left in the tank. I understand you want to go win championships. If it's not going to be in L.A., buddy, you got to leave me with something. At least do a sign and trade, something. Like, don't just bail out on me, please.
Which is still totally
We
possible.
love you, Bron. We love you, Bron. I might want to strangle you half the time I watch this team play. And it's not entirely your fault unless when you're playing against Phoenix and Anthony Davis goes down and then you just completely gave up on the series, it felt like. But other than that, like, you're the one thing that has brought me happiness in the sport of basketball since, 2010? You know? So, buddy. And can we talk about something first?
Mazz,
Like, what?
can you restart that thought again? You lagged for a second.
Oh, sorry. Can we just talk about the burning of the jerseys? Why is that a thing?
Yeah, I don't really know. It's number one.
I paid good money for that jersey, first off.
Oh, for sure.
Second, like, you got the guy's jersey for a reason. So even if, like, oh, he's leaving us now, like, dude, he was doing something for you. Like, you know, especially if he won a championship for you, like, come on, man. I just don't get it. You didn't see Toronto, burn Kawhi's jersey. Why? Because he made them relevant for the first time
Oh, it's
since
also
Vince Carter.
also because they're Canadians as well. I don't think they have that vitriol inside of them.
Yeah, I have no clue, man. I just that is such a stupid trend that I think that they just need to stop, man.
I'm
Like,
with you.
if
I'm
you
with
wanna
you.
if you wanna hate the guy. But like, dude, some of you schmucks paid like $100 for that jersey because Lord knows Fanatics ain't cheap these days.
Yeah,
You know?
and also like I never understood it either because like sure you're burning the jersey, but you could also you ever see the guys who like will just duct tape a different name on the jersey and like they like reuse the same number. Like I got a Carmelo Anthony 7 jersey over there. I mean, seven's not retired by the Knicks, but if they ever get another 7, I could repurpose that jersey into a you name this player. You know what I mean?
Dude, forget the duct tape. Just go get like some heat.
st-
Get that
The
off there.
stitching, yeah.
Just re-stencil it, restitch it, whatever you got. I guess. But
Honestly,
are you ever gonna take off that Melo?
absolutely, probably
No.
not. That was a bad example. It was a bad example.
Do you have an Aaron Rodgers jersey yet?
Yeah, you don't see it up there on the wall?
I thought I did, but I can't. Like, I'm gonna be honest, my eyesight ain't what it used to be. So, yes, okay, the 8. Thank you. Listen, if he were to leave the Jets right now, right? Let's say that he would have took the vice presidency with RFK and he left. What were you doing with that jersey?
Not burning it, that's for sure.
Like, come on, it would have been like, yeah. Like, you're gonna have that for them. You know how much that jersey's gonna be worth down the line, just because of like, think about all those people. I saw OKC Kevin Durant jerseys going for like $17 at Walmart when he left to go to the Warriors. Dude, when he retires,
That's a
that's
great
gonna be
jersey.
worth something.
Oh yeah.
Like come on, man. I don't get it. But back to our original conversation. Yeah, if LeBron joins Dallas, now we're talking, but is it enough defense? I don't know. I mean, this is how much stake are you going to put in the 40-year-old player to be your best defender, out of your big 3? I don't know if that works. Is there enough basketball even to go around, I think LeBron can still help the Lakers. I'm not saying it's not going to improve Dallas, but does that get them over the hump? I mean, if you have LeBron James playing against, I don't know, Denver, he's not the one that's going to be Xing out, evening out Jokic. So I just don't know if it's worth going that route. I mean, I'm never going to say don't acquire LeBron James. This is one of the greatest to ever do it. Some say the greatest to ever do it, right? But at the same time, he's 40 years old.
Yeah, you
Gotta be a little realistic,
yeah, for sure.
And dare I say, hold on, I gotta look at a I think they need a star big. I feel like,
Dallas.
they need, yeah,
What's lively to you, Derek Lively?
somebody that has been putting in great effort, but I'm more than willing to part with if that's what you're asking me.
I mean, well, he obviously right now he comes off the bench for Gafford. I think you could move a guy like Gafford, package him with a Tim Hardaway or a Maxi Kleber to trade for a guy if that's the case. I mean, I think they have picks as well. Like you could go into next season confident in Lively being your starting center.
Yeah, I mean, he's somebody that I think that develop, but is he what you need to win a championship right now? I disagree.
I wouldn't say he's
No.
a star,
I-
but he had some great minutes in the finals. He was
I agree.
averaging five points a game, 8 rebounds, as opposed to Gafford, who was averaging 8 points and 4 rebounds. So it was basically just the inverse. More defense, more rebounding, less offense for both. Like kind of like a give and take.
Yeah, I just if that's gonna be in your starting lineup, you still have not changed the fact that you need something huge. I wouldn't call me crazy. getting a deal done maybe for a Julius Randle. Getting a deal done for even, I know this is so far out of the possibility, but we know that Philly has been having their ups and downs with it. You can even possibly lure an Embiid. I know that's very crazy, but like that's what you need. Somebody that's gonna go out there and put up those kind of big man minutes. You know? They need a 20-point scorer plus. That's where I'm at with it. They need a big who can score over 20 points. Maybe even, I don't know what somebody that would be interesting for them. I don't know what the contract is. You know, like just somebody that is capable of that kind of production. Pascal Siakam's going to be out there. Why not him?
Yeah, unrestricted free agent potentially could be.
You know,
could be on the move.
now granted they're not Embiid. Like that's the pinnacle of what you could possibly acquire, and I don't even think it's attainable. But like getting a big man that could know his role, help out on that defense, put up points when the other two are getting zoned in on. That's where I'm at for Dallas.
All right, one last name.
Siakam might be the guy.
One last name before we move on to the next subject / topic here. One more name for you, but more of a middle road option, not as impactful as Paul George, but still a wing with experience and a guy who's been there and done it. Klay Thompson, unrestricted free agent.
I am so perplexed on Klay. I want Klay to have more left in him. But it's been rocky since that injury in the finals, the torn Achilles, then the knee injury, like everything's just piling up. Like if you do it, it has to be the money's got to work for me. And I still think that Klay's going to want to get paid because he's of that pedigree. This is a guy who was very integral into that Warriors dynasty. Yes, you had Steph. Yes, you had Kevin Durant, but Klay was Mr. Consistency. Whatever role you needed. Do I need to be the second star? Do I need to just be catch and shoot? Do you need me to play defense on the wing because I'm the best wing defender that team has once you got rid of Andre Iguodala, right? I think Klay is very interesting, but the injury history is what scares me. I wouldn't even mind the Lakers going out and getting a Klay. If Klay can, just get back to the shooting ways, but I'm not willing to put that much money into it because it's just, those are things. I don't care if who your doctor is; they're not going to be able to counterbalance that.
Yeah, no.
It's either going to go your way or what. Like that injury history petrifies me, my friend.
Yeah, and I don't think he's the player he once was. Could he contribute still to a playoff team? I think so. I think his skill set is tailored to a player who can age gracefully. Like jump shots don't really decline as players age. You know what I mean? But definitely
defense does.
The defense, the athleticism, that's definitely on the downturn. I don't think no one's giving Klay Thompson anywhere near the max this summer, but I think he's still going to get a decent chunk of change from somebody. We'll eventually see who.
Would you like to see him coming off the bench?
If he's going to accept it, sure, because the Warriors tried that this past season, and he threw a hissy fit about it.
But I think now he knows where he stands, Like, for me, like, if that's me, like, I can understand where he's throwing the hissy fit, because it's like, I helped build this, and now it feels like you guys are giving up on me. Where another team, it's almost like, listen, I kind of have to prove myself again, unless he's thinking, yo, I'm of that pedigree. Like, if I'm out of the starting lineup, I ain't signing this damn contract, But I think he's going to be very surprised by the numbers that he's going to be warranting. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if a team overpays for them. I really wouldn't be surprised if Rob Pelinka freaking overpaid for him, if I'm being completely honest with you. But we'll see what happens with him. I think there's still usage of Klay Thompson. He's one of the best Robins to ever do it. But I don't know if the Robin years are left in him, man. I think we're getting to that, like, maybe still a starter, but a rotation guy, Catch and shoot threes, needing those big threes in a big moment, coming off the bench, cooking a second unit, like that kind of thing. I think that's how he extends his career. Because he could walk away right now and still be on top, and he has a better career than some of our favorite players, Would you rather be a Tracy McGrady or a Klay Thompson? I'd rather be a Klay Thompson personally.
Thompson, yep.
And that's not taken away from Tracy. It's just that that's how the cards folded. At the height, I don't think anybody would say that Klay Thompson was better than Tracy McGrady, but the overall, how the career went down, he had the better career. Even Carmelo Anthony. I think I'd rather be Klay Thompson. No disrespect.
Yeah, I mean Clay's definitely had a storied career. I don't think it's egregious to say if he retired, he would be a Hall of Famer. Like the next
Oh,
time he's
he's
eligible.
absolutely
Yeah, yeah.
a first ballot. I think he'd be first ballot. I mean,
Mm.
you were a giant part of the most modern NBA dynasty. I think the second he'd be up for it, yeah, I think we've seen worse people get on the ballot faster. Come on.
Yeah,
With all due respect, Yao Ming was on the ballot. What Yao never won.
yeah,
This is a guy. This is a guy who has multiple championships.
for sure.
And was a big part of it. He wasn't just riding the bench for it.
Well,
So,
luckily, we're not going to have to wait too long to see where some of when and where some of these dominoes start falling. Because thanks to the new collective bargaining agreement, teams can start negotiating contracts with players entering the last year of their deal or entering free agency right after the finals. So we could see contracts start getting handed out today. In fact, I haven't checked my phone since we started recording. Maybe something. Let's see. Checking X. Nothing. All good. But 5 guys who could potentially see a contract extension in the next few days. Tyrese Maxey with the Sixers entering the last year of his deal. He is a bona fide superstar coming off most improved player, 25 points per game. He's going to get a max contract. Pascal Siakam, he's entering unrestricted free agency with the Pacers. I don't see why they wouldn't re-sign him. I mean, he was a major part in their run to the conference finals. I think he found a good fit with Indiana, and Indiana found a good fit with him. I think that's a mutual kind of pairing there. I don't envision him leaving for anywhere else.
I think he should.
You think he should?
Yeah, because as we said, if Boston got an easy route to the finals, Indiana had an easy route to the Eastern Conference Finals. You cannot sit here and tell me that, as a Pacers fan, you have all the belief in the world of Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam is going to be your star duo that gets you to the promised land. I just don't believe it. I think you need to retool that team still. I think finally it's time to move on from Miles Turner as well. I think Indiana needs to strip it down. You can build it up with Halliburton, but you need to bring in other stars. Like what you have now, it just ain't it for me.
I'll push back on you a little bit there. I think they have enough of a they've drafted and developed this team like very well over the last few years. I think they got a lot of nice pieces. You think of Nemhard, you think of Shepard, you think of Aaron Neesmith, and who's the guy that got hurt? Benedict. Benedict Mathurin. Thank you. I think you got enough here, and that's not even mentioning Miles Turner, Halliburton, T.J. McConnell. I think you have enough here where you're not pulling the plug just yet. You got to give him at least another year.
Carlito, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Fully healthy, you tell me Indiana or the other team? Miami. Milwaukee. New York.
Give me the Knicks, baby. Cleveland?
Philadelphia.
Phil, I'm taking Philly.
Cleveland.
I'm taking Indiana.
We haven't even gotten to Boston. Oh, you're taking Indiana. All right. I disagree with you there. We don't need to get into that right now. We'll get into that another day for sure. But listen, I still haven't even named Boston yet. I feel that they are closer to Toronto than they are to Boston in terms of where they're at as an organization. Right now, yes, they're better than Toronto, but they're closer to Toronto than they are to Boston.
I know what you mean.
Like, come on, bro. You're telling me to run it back, and you just, like, we got to 5 teams that are definitely you're taking over them, and it wasn't even a question. You sat there and pondered it because you're trying to give them a little respect, but you weren't taking them. Stop it. Retool it, man. They could build something in Indiana. They got a good organization. They just don't have the talent for it. You can develop those young guys. I'm not saying to blow it up completely. I'm saying get those big contracts off the books and try to retool it.
Like try and use the guys like Miles Turner, T.J. McConnell to trade for a younger superstar that could kind of flourish with the other younger guys.
Yeah, somebody that's not necessarily in the prime right now, but maybe enters the prime in the next 2 years. Something like that. I think younger is better for Indiana right now. They're not in a win now place. I know they just made the Eastern Conference Final, but that path is not opening up next year like that again. It just doesn't happen like that.
So, other names to come to mind: OG Anunoby. Obviously, he's entering free agency with the Knicks. He's up for a new contract, and we've talked about it before. There may or may not be some light tampering going on there. OG's agent is, I believe his name is Sam Rose, the son of Knicks president of basketball operations, Leon Rose. So
What the hell are the Knicks only capable of building an actual team by just having the mafia of NBA connections? I mean, come on, your biggest star just so happens to be good friends with Thibodeau, who's best friends with Leon Rose, and now OG's agent is Leon Rose. They got so many different connections. This is the godfather of You think it's Pat Riley, the godfather of basketball? Leon Rose is the damn, like, this is tampering. This is ridiculous. This is the most. This is like nepotism working out like every time. Like, what the hell is happening? It's the New York Mafia. That's what we should start calling them. Not the New York Knicks. It's the New York Mafia.
The Don Leon, man. Yeah, in Leon we trust. In Leon we trust. You like that one?
Don Leon is good, bro. I think that's a coin right there. We should make T-shirts for that one. And Don Leon. He's making offers you can't refuse.
And is there any world where OG's not back on the Knicks, Mazz?
Absolutely, there is a world, because he's already stated that I don't care about winning. I care about getting paid first and foremost. He'll care about winning once he's paid. But listen, dude, you're looking for the new contract. I mean, listen, he was making a lot of money with the Knicks last year, I felt like. If his biggest, I'd say, goal was to win an NBA championship, this deal would get done no problem. We wouldn't be hearing of him talking about wanting more money. But clearly he wants more money. He feels that he's earned it. He feels that he's that caliber of player. That's the number one option for him. So, do I think he ends up back with the Knicks? Yes. But is there a world where it happens? Absolutely, because he's prioritizing the bag.
Yeah, I think there's there's a better chance that... Actually, I'm not going to finish that thought. No. OG Anunoby will be in Nick, and he will sign the contract this summer, and he'll be back in the fall.
No. I'm not letting you off the hook like that. What the heck were you going to say?
No, I was going to say something inappropriate.
All right, go ahead. You're off the hook, Charlie. Go ahead.
All right, cool. Thank you. Last two names. James Harden entering free agency. I don't think he ends up anywhere other than the Clippers, though. I think they give him not a max contract, kind of similar to what a Klay Thompson could get, a 3-year, like $90 million deal. A superstar who's past his prime, but still is able to give you good minutes in the regular season and, of course, the playoffs as well.
I mean, if you're the Clippers, where else are you going to go? I mean, I don't think this team's ever working out, with all due respect. I think the guys that they have to believe in now, unless you're going to blow the entire thing up, but you are way too invested. You've given up way too much draft picks. You've spent way too much money, but I think you kind of just have to die on this hill with it. You pay James Harden, you try to run it back, because who are you acquiring that's better than Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and James Harden, and even Russell Westbrook sitting on your bench? Who are you bringing in that's better? I don't think the Clippers are ever getting to where they want to be, but I don't think that there is a time to rebuild it, really. Like, there's just so much tied up in it. They don't have the draft picks to start the rebuild, so it's because they're all in OKC, so I think you just have to ride this wave out, and whatever you can get out of it, you push that engine to the very end till the wheels fall off and the motor seizes.
100% agree with you. And to add insult to injury, not only have they already, like, they're already, of course, all in. Like they are invested in this team. Not only that, but within the next few years, they have to start selling out a brand new arena. So what are they going to, like they can't blow it up, because you're not going to sell out an arena with a rebuild. You know what I mean? You need these guys to stay. You need them to stick around, because you need to sell those tickets.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But I will say this, their owner, right, Steve Ballmer, that is what I feel like he's of the lineage of just, I'm a fan first and I will do whatever it takes to win. I wish that more governors would be like that. I feel like Mark Cuban is along those lines of governor. I wish the Lakers would start to be like that, instead of getting, lowballing guys that they think could be their next coach of the next great dynasty. I feel bad for Ballmer. I hate that he's on the Clippers. I kind of wish he owned the Lakers. I mean, I love the Buss family. I love Jeannie, but it's just ain't it for me. But this guy's gonna get it done at some point. He's willing to spend the money. He's that passionate. I just think that they went all in, and they didn't make the wrong moves. They did not make the wrong moves whatsoever.
It was injuries.
You can make
it was injuries.
It's nothing but injuries. I think. Can you make a case that they overpaid for Paul George? Yes, but Kawhi Leonard has basically already stated, I would not have been here unless that deal got done anyway. Nobody knew that Gilgeous-Alexander was going to be this. All right, even when they drafted him, they did not think that he was going to be putting up 30 points a night. They've done what you're supposed to do when you make a statement that we're all in, and it just didn't work out. And you cannot fault anybody but the injury bug, and it happens.
Yeah, I don't think Kawhi and PG ever both played in a series where they were both healthy, except for maybe like the bubble. Like that legitimately might be it.
It's a failed experiment, but I can't fault the man for trying. If I was an owner, which I am not, of course, I could see myself making those exact same moves of, we are all in right now, this is the window, whatever it takes. And sometimes it pays off, and sometimes it doesn't. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
But they're stuck in kind of hell right now, for being honest. Like, you tear it down, you're not winning for years. You got to take it as far as you can go, and maybe when you start the rebuild, you actually have something to work with.
Yeah.
Or you trade Paul George and you get something for him. You get some young talent to start building. You got to start getting trades for it. You can't let these guys walk. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I think you're gonna start the rebuild.
And I think that's the biggest problem is, like, if you look across the entire NBA, the two rosters that are the most, like, blow upable, where you can get the most assets coming back to you as possible, like, you could get, like, a Boston Celtics level of return on a trade, is Phoenix, and also I think the Clippers. But the Clippers just literally cannot, because of all those things you mentioned, the commitments they've made, the investments they've made, and of course the brand new arena, the brand new uniforms, the brand new logo, whatever you want to say. It's just this was the worst timing possible for it all to kind of break down and fall apart.
And I question, what does a market for Kawhi Leonard, if that's what you're going to move on from, even look like? This is one of the greatest, who's also one of the most injured. What team is going to be willing to? How much is a team willing to part with, acquire his talents? I don't know. That is a market that is the biggest question mark that I've seen, maybe ever. I don't know what a Kawhi Leonard is worth to an organization, because when he's on, he's on. But is he going to be on the court? I just don't know. You know?
Yeah, for sure. All right, and the last name I have here for the CBA, obviously for the re-signing of players that can start literally the second after the finals ended, is LeBron James. We already kind of touched on him, where he could potentially be on the move with the Mavericks. He's got the player option that he can opt in or out of. But LeBron, he could potentially sign an extension with the Lakers right this second. I don't know if he's going to do it or not. I don't think anyone knows what LeBron's thinking right now. The Lakers are still in a good spot where they can retool and run it back again next year. Where they still have AD, still have a lot of guys under contract. I know you hate him. Austin Reeves is still there. Rui Hachimura, D'Angelo Russell. I believe Gabe Vincent's still going to be around next year. But does LeBron?
Whoa. We're bringing the band back, but nobody wants to hear the band play.
No, if LeBron's coming back next year, they're not running the roster back. They will make changes and they will make a trade.
They need to blow the entire thing. I don't want to see anybody on that roster whose names aren't Anthony Davis and LeBron James at this point. All right? Everybody was telling me, D'Angelo Russell this, D'Angelo Russell that. D'Angelo Russell is exactly who I thought he was. Somebody who shies away in the big moments. Somebody who is inefficient as hell. When he's on, but when he's off, he's off. And quite honestly, I don't have the roster to take the gamble with. And his defense on the perimeter isn't worth putting up with the offensive inefficiency, damn it. All right? Austin Reeves is Kyle Kuzma 2.0 with a better three-point shot. All right? He's putting up empty stats. Nobody's game planning for Austin Reeves. That's why he's getting all these damn points. I don't want to see him even have arms to shoot a basketball in the fourth quarter of a Lakers basketball contest. All right? He's not the guy. This is a guy who walked into the NBA as overperformed, is going to get overpaid, continuously overpaid, due to putting up good effort. That's great, but is it going to lead to winning basketball? Hell no, my friend. All right? We have how many years left of LeBron James? Get something out of it. I don't know how many times I have to talk about this, right? Get something out of LeBron James. You have a market out there, all right? Either A, if you be willing to make that trade. I know he has the no trade clause, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. If LeBron's going to choose where he wants to go, sit down. If that's it, LeBron, if you need to leave, where do you want to go? Let us get something back in return, please. All right, because we've done everything that you wanted. We even helped your legacy by getting you got us and we got you another championship, right? They got 17 together. You got to get something in compensation for it, or you need to give the tools that it's actually going to work. Because every time, I just feel like they take like the Kirkland's version of what's available. All right, we could go get Zach LaVine, but we're gonna go bring in D'Angelo Russell instead. I want us to be like the Clippers in terms of I have no question whether or not they're all in. If it doesn't work, so be it. But I want to believe that this organization is all in when they say that they're all in. Because they say that they're all in, but they're making discount moves. What the hell is that?
Could be a financial side of things, as Mazz, as you've talked about recently. The buses could be, just beginning to getting lapped in terms of financial flexibility when it comes to the NBA governors around the league, right?
Does anybody know what Dr. Bus was even a doctor of? I couldn't even tell you. I have no clue, right? I'm not saying that he wasn't a real doctor. I'm saying that he acquired a wealth from being a doctor, right? I'm sure you're going to find it right now. But then the family's biggest asset became the Lakers, all right? They make their most money, I believe, from basketball at this point because the brand's that big. It is the most expensive franchise in the NBA, if I'm not mistaken, all right? I believe it's number 3 in terms of North American franchises behind the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Yankees in terms of like what they're worth, right? What I make the most money off of is this asset, shouldn't I be putting in the most money to continuously bolster that asset and reap the rewards from it? You want to know how you make more money if you're in trouble? You make investments into what's making you damn money, and that's the Lakers. It's making you money. Put the money in there. Winning leads to more income coming in. The farther you go into playoffs, the more money you got making from the season, the more ticket sales, the more jersey sales, the more concession and parking that we know you charge outrageously priced for it, all of it, all right? And then if you win the championship, everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon, so people that weren't even Lakers fans are now Lakers fans, and now you're getting even more money. Get the team back to winning instead of being cheap because you're just hurting yourself. If that's the fact of the matter, sell the damn team.
Agree with you there. I mean, if you're cutting corners as an organization, especially as a legacy franchise as the Lakers are of the NBA, then you're right. Then it's time to sell the team because it's not fair to the fans. It's not fair to the legacy of the team. It's not fair to the history. The Lakers are obviously on the same level as the Boston Celtics. I don't know who owns the Celtics, what family that is. That's just not really something I have off the top of my head. But like,
oh, I actually know this, right? My man Wick Grousebeck, whose actually name is Wyclef Grousebeck, owns the team, and he acquired them early 2000s, and has now won 2 championships as governor of the Boston Celtics.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So it's a newer owner, relatively.
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part. I mean, granted, he's been there, 20, I think it's like 20 plus years now. But yeah, no, this was not handed down from the 70s.
Yeah, I was going to say, as opposed to the Lakers who have been owned by the Busses since, like you said, the early 70s. But by the way, Jerry Buss was he had a PhD in physical chemistry.
Where does that take you? What do you become a doctor in? I'm confused. Like, I know, like, that sounds like a scientist more to me.
Yeah.
Granted, I am a recent graduate of Montclair State, but let's be honest, I'm a sports communications major, which means I have a bachelor's degree in sports and communicating with people, not necessarily knowledge of the world and how it works.
Fair enough. All right, Mazz, is that all for B-ball? Anything else you wanted to touch on before we hopped off?
I just think that certain teams need to retool it. I think you're going to see the Suns blow it up. I don't see how that ends up working with it. You got to get Bradley Beal out of there if you can. Listen, I wouldn't mind cleaning up those scraps. I'll give you Austin Reeves and a pick for Bradley Beal. You know,
What
give me something.
about what about
The Lakers
KD?
gotta find a way to get done. Dude, what a weird legacy this guy's gonna have, right? 4-time scoring champ, 2-time NBA champion, but he had to join the best team in the league to get it done. I think KD is great. I don't know if KD can be the number one,
Definitely
especially
not.
at this time in his career.
At this point, yeah, no,
I,
his days as a number one option on a championship team are over.
he should be looking to go get to Los Angeles. I think that could work, right? Joining LeBron, joining AD, you can allow AD to be the number one option. LeBron facilitate, and KD still getting his. I think they could win with Kevin Durant. I just have no clue how to acquire it. They can afford it. It's just, is the Suns going to be willing to part with it, this and that? If I'm Kevin Durant, we saw him, you know, force his way out of Brooklyn. Why not force your way out of Phoenix before you just get stuck there? Because it looks like nothing's going on for you.
If there's anything KD can do, it is force his way out of a situation he doesn't want to be in. So, or maybe we get the inverse. Maybe LeBron forces his way to Phoenix, as we've heard a few times. I don't think
LeBron's going everywhere. You know, LeBron's joining the damn Justice League at this point. You better watch out for the next damn Marvel movie because he's the Avenger now, you know? The Avenger, not a part of the Avengers. He is the Avenger.
Well, luckily we
I
don't
don't know.
have to wait too long without seeing these guys play basketball. We don't have to wait till the fall because in a few weeks, Olympic action's going to get started, and we'll have plenty to talk about then, I'm sure.
It's the only time I actually care about the Olympics. Full digression. I gotta be honest. I'll probably watch that 7-on-7 that they're putting up. I'll be paying attention to American basketball. I know the WNBA sending a team too, you know, so I'll be paying attention to that, but everything else, no disrespect to the Olympics. We even have people that work on the Olympics, you know, that we went to school with in Montclair, and congratulations to them. It's a giant event. It's just the way that you feel about soccer, I feel about the Olympics. I just, you know, there's so many events that I'm not about it, you know. I'll pay attention to like 3 events and that's about it. And 2 of them will be basketball.
Fair enough, and you know I'm honestly with you there. And that, and I'll be watching for golf as well. Shout out Xander Schauffele, the 2020 gold medalist. I believe was that in Tokyo 2020 Olympics.
Charlie, you could give me 1,000 years. I'm not coming up with that name. I'm not coming up with the year or location. It's just not happening.
They were in fact in Tokyo, and they were called the 2020 games, but they took place in 21 because of COVID.
Yeah, would have got it wrong. Thank you.
There you go. Great show today, and obviously, once again, congratulations to the Boston Celtics on their 18th championship, most all-time in the NBA.
And congratulations to us. The first episode of the Mazz and Bad Show, this new endeavor. Episode 1 in the book.